Eulogy for Terry Campagna, Liba Risa Bat Moshe Vagolda, February 11, 1925 to March 14, 2013. Terry Campagna was a child of the Depression who spent her life making others happy. She touched many lives as an entertainer, healer, planner, hostess, homemaker, mother, and grandmother. She loved her husband, Ed, of blessed memory. They were partners in every sense of the word. They brought out the best in each other and those around them. She gave birth to 2 children, Larry and PJ, and 1 grandson, Vincent, carries his grandfather's middle name, Edward. Her sisters, Ruth and Eileen, along with her brother Lee, brother-in-law Bertram, and sister-in-law Jerry, joined Larry and PJ to form the foundation of Terry's family. But there are so many others who were family to her. Not just PJ's husband, Sean, and Larry's partner, Patty. Larry and PJ can't be sure how many siblings they have. Terry was constantly introducing them to a brother and sister. Some young magician or performer she adopted. It wasn't strange for Larry or PJ to be at a magic convention or a hotel bar and have someone approach them and say, "Your mom was more of a mom to me, my mom." We've lost count of how many people called her mom. Her adopted children were not limited to magicians. Once PJ and her mother were at a resort and went to a hot tub. Everyone in the tub was young, many on their honeymoons. PJ said to the group of strangers, "Careful everyone, Mom's here." They all said, "Hi, Mom," to their new matriarch, and the group of new friends began trading jokes. One man said, "I've got a good one, but I don't know if I should tell it with Mom here." Terry didn't miss a beat. "Tell it," she said. "If it's clean, I'll be bored, and if it's dirty, I've heard it." Morris and Goldie Zemmel's little girl found her performance bug early. At 3, she was dancing. At 13, she was a professional dancer. And at 17, she was ready to leave home to tour. Home life had been an economic roller coaster. Her father, who the kids called Zadie, was a butcher who made and lost fortunes. When Terry was in 1st grade, a chauffeur took her to school. When she was in 2nd grade, they couldn't even afford a car. So as a teenager, she took her talent and stage presence and began making her own living, specializing in ballet, tap, and dance. Her agent probably wanted to protect this pretty young girl from showbiz types, so he made sure to book her on a show with a slightly older but very responsible, respected performer, his star MC, Ed Campagna. She and Ed fell in love with each other, and then they made thousands fall in love with them. The happy couple married when Ed returned from World War II on September 15, 1945. With Ed being Catholic and Terry Jewish, they had to get special dispensation from the bishop in Chicago to be married, as long as they promised to raise their children Catholic. Larry and PJ had a blend of traditions, with a Catholic upbringing, but respectfully connecting with their Jewish roots through Terry's parents. In the early years before the kids were born, Ed and Terry developed their act together of magic and hypnotism. No hypnotic tricks, nothing risque, nothing to embarrass audience members. Ed continued to work as an engineer while they performed together on weekends. This was their existence for the first 7 years of marriage, and then Larry was born, and then PJ. Parenting became Terry's first priority, but it wasn't long before the kids were part of the act. Ed and Terry had a unique routine in which Terry would put her head or hand under a guillotine and would let out a blood-curdling scream as the blade just missed dismembering her. One time when PJ was watching a well-known magician and doing a similar act, the performer asked for a volunteer who was at least 10 years old. PJ jumped at the chance, having just turned 10, and shocked the pro by letting out the same kind of scream. He must have jumped 10 feet in the air. It might have been that same convention or another one. When PJ and Larry were young, Terry and Ed were frantically looking all over the hotel for their missing children at 1 a.m. They finally found them in the hospitality room, with PJ performing for the adult magicians and Larry watching on. They couldn't blame them for staying up late. That's what magicians do. As Ed continued to work for the government, the couple built their own house in Virginia, from start to finish. When the space program was the big rage, it was obvious for Texas to become home. With the help of their young children, they built a home in Texas, where it would be at the center of the development of the Johnson Spacecraft Center. Ed and Terry continued to do their act whenever and wherever they could, and became leading figures in magic associations, both the Society of American Magicians and the Texas Association of Magicians. Terry was the first and only female president of the Texas Association of Magicians. She and Ed worked together to chair several state and national conventions. All visiting magicians who came to Houston were hosted at Hotel Campagna. Ed would pick them up at the airport, bring them home to a fabulous feast prepared by Terry. If there was time, they'd get a tour of the city. Hundreds of performers received mentorship and guidance from both, and most were also mommed by Terry's never-ending parenting. Aside from parenting the world of magicians, Terry was the mom of moms for Larry and PJ. The Jewish woman with the Catholic kids was somehow the one who chaperoned field trips, drove carpools, and cooked for church at group outings. She didn't stop with her own kids or own magicians. Most of her nieces and nephews were potty trained by Aunt Terry, and all learned proper etiquette from her. She might not have been the most meticulous housekeeper, but she kept records, bills, and all finances up to date. When Ed retired in 1975, the two had more time to travel together and perform. While Ed was the star, Terry was always more than an assistant, clearly the partner. Especially in the hypnosis act, Terry needed to watch out for particularly strong candidates, as well as those who might have gotten into an unintentional trance. She was his eyes and ears, and though an excellent performer in her own right, was never competitive with her husband. There was a big graduation party for Larry's graduation from law school, and Ed sat at a table doing tricks for hours, and there was Terry, right next to him, resetting each trick and preparing him for the next one. The 10 years after Ed's retirement were special times. When he passed away in 1985, Terry continued to chair the Society of American Magicians convention for 3 more years. In her later years, Terry maintained independence as long as possible. How many people over the age of 70 do you know who would fix the pump to the pool by themselves? When PJ was starting a mortgage business, her parents lent her seed money. One time, several staff members were out sick, and Terry came in to help in the office. She worked full-time for 2 weeks and refused when PJ tried to pay her. Terry ripped up the check. But later she bragged, "My daughter is so generous, she doubled my salary every day." But the take-home pay stayed the same. The only time she acquiesced was when PJ tried to return the seed money in the presence of Goldie, Terry's mother. When Terry refused, PJ said to her grandmother, "Bobby, tell Mom to get over it." Bobby said, "Busy? Get over it." And she did. When her health started to fail, she didn't want to leave her house, but knew it was inevitable. Larry made it easy by making his home her home, showing his mom he had learned about hospitality from the best. PJ said he's been a saint, and along with many helpers, Terry remained comfortable to the end. She was a woman full of talent and full of heart. Larry's partner, Patty, who only got to know her recently, said she was both dignified and warm, practical and insatiable. There was never enough time to do all the things she wanted to do. Well, this woman put more into her 88 years than just about anyone I ever met. Parent and performer, hostess and homemaker, organizer, chairwoman, chauffeur, cook, mentor, teacher, partner, and friend. It seems like there's never enough time, except for the fact that she's not really gone. She lives in every one who she touched, every magician who she encouraged, every audience member she entertained, every hypnosis client she helped. She lives on in the legacy of her 2 successful children, an adored grandson, and everyone else who she considered family. A wise man once said, "Magic is the only honest profession. A magician promises to deceive you and then does." Terry Campagna, Mom, you did it all. Now, rest in peace.